This is the Rugby Odds, where an unlikely pundit panel of a wordsmith, a WWE legend, a rugby star, and a supermodel scour the globe, seeking best bets and bad behavior. Are you not entertained? Thanks. And we have a great show that will honor those applause. We have, and specifically, you got to check out the second segment, because that's when George Hook and Steve Lewis take a very hard look at the World Rugby elections and the election process. You don't want to miss that. But also look in the sponsor opportunity green room, and you'll see WWE Hall of Famer turned rugby advocate John Bradshaw Layfield, King Gift Egbelu, the inventor of words, world-renowned rugby coach Mike Friday, Steve Elevate Rugby Lewis, and Irish rugby legend George Hook, all addressing what's in the Your Company name here. Slate, let's get to it. Guys, somewhat difficult week for us because these international tests are so hard to pick. But what observations did we take away?
Yeah, it's tough. I said Argentina was going to play well against Ireland, might do something crazy. They almost did, because Ireland twice at the end of the half and at the end of the game had to stop them from getting a try, or they lose that game, because it looked like a championship game. Thought Ireland was going to choke. I also said Australia was going to boat race them boys in Wales, and it happened. So don't be talking this bullshit.
I could really burst John's bubble right here and call out Gift and Mike for absolutely sucking last week. Mike especially. He was 1-5. Yet Friday, you're just giggling. You, Friday, and you, Gift. But no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be the team player. I'll take the hit. Let's get back to John's rant now.
So don't be talking this bullshit about how we had a bad week. You had a bad week, pal.
Okay, John, you know what? There's no I in team, John.
Yeah, but there is an idiot.
All right, okay. Any other observation, John, that you want to, or can we go on to Mike now?
Go to Mike. You should start with Mike. He's a legendary coach.
You didn't give me a chance to start with Mike. You came
Because
right
you
at
opened
me.
up with a dumbass comment about, oh, we all did bad.
It's badly. It's an adverb. Mike.
I had a stinker. I picked Wales and England. So, yeah, but I was at the England-South Africa game. Phenomenal game. It was nip and tuck for large chunks of the game. But obviously, our last 20 minutes with the line-out throwing, which was, it was a joke. And that was my observation, is that our line-out just literally gifted it, as well as the mighty man Etzebeth, obviously, with the charge downs. And obviously, John's big fan of his work, but he caused proper havoc at key times, and then the little box of tricks on the wing Colby as well. A fabulous event to be at and a great game, but the South Africans deserved it.
It just looked like athleticism from the South Africans. I thought the English played for 60 minutes. It was tough. It's a good game. It looked like it could go either way. It looked like England might actually take it. And then the athleticism, when they got a breakaway kick, they just scored. You give them an inch, they will score a try. It's unbelievable, the athleticism that South Africa has. Did you see the same thing?
I did. I just think what you don't feel or you don't see unless you're there was the intensity of the pressure that England were putting on with their lineouts down in those 22s. Like 4 times we had the opportunity. We had 4 penalties, put them down there, and we bombed the throw. And you can't do that against the South Africans, because they then do what you just said they did. They got a sniff of an opportunity and they're scoring tries. And we had them on the rack at 60 minutes. I wouldn't say we choked. We're just falling away at important times and at critical times. And yeah, it's a killer. But what an event. What a test match. I'm telling you, you could feel some of the hits from the stands. It was brutal. Absolutely brutal.
How about you, Gift?
I'd said before that Italy is the worst team in the worst best team in the league. And they proved it absolutely. Even though they got the win, I still, to this day, I'm going, hey man, Georgia really, it might be time to do a Challengers Cup for Six Nations. Like, I think we've all been saying it, but I think like the evidence continues to be there more and more every single moment. Just put Portugal, Georgia, and Italy all throughout that. And then on the other side of it, look, let's give a shout out. USA actually won, I'm not going to say a meaningful game, but a game that should have been won.
I just piggybacking that, I thought A.J. McGinty finally looked like his world-class self in an Eagles uniform. He has taken that leadership role, and he had a great match. I will say one of the best spectacles, Mike, you said the at Twickenham was a great event, but how about what they put on in Paris?
I mean, the opening for it and the whole that match was just electric. That was one of the more exciting matches I've watched in a long time.
I called it. Antoine Dupont scored no tries, no points. New Zealand was giving him nothing.
Bam! Yeah, and Matt's going, "Oh, we had such a bad day."
All right, okay, all right. Maybe we didn't have such a bad week collectively.
You had a bad week, Matt. You suck.
I'm the big toe here. I'm the big toe. If I'm stepped on, then the whole foot suffers. Okay, I'm the big toe, John.
That is possibly the dumbest analogy I've ever heard.
Yeah, but at least he acknowledges that he looks like a toe.
Fair play, Gift. Let's move on to our next segment, the Autumn Nations Player of the Week in the URC. Our nominees are Jack Morgan of the Ospreys and Wales, of course. 26 tackles in the loss. He got mollywopped by Karevi, who got sent to the bin as a result, so that was a double contribution. Tom Jordan, Mike, your guy, from Glasgow, obviously playing for Scotland. 13 carries, 130 yards in the fullback position. Caveat, he is a Kiwi. Gary Ringrose of Leinster, a brutally physical match, both sides of the ball. He and Henshaw were in that middle, helping contain. Otherwise, the Argies probably have that as a win. Gift, your man, Saya Khaleesi of the Sharks and South Africa. 15 tackles, Gift, including a bomb on Ben Earl to set the tone. Oh, and I'm sorry, we had a write-in ballot, John. Just in, your write-in ballot for Even Etzebeth. Tell us why.
Yeah, the rules changed in rugby. There's going to be a lot of block kicks, and it's amazing to me how professional athletes in both football and rugby don't know how to block kicks. You don't go at the person kicking the ball. You don't go where the ball is. You go where the ball's going to be 3 to 4 feet off the foot that's being kicked. It's amazing to me. Guys don't know that. Eden Etzebeth knew it. 2 incredible kicks being blocked. One of them led directly to a try. To me, I don't know how you can ever have an MVP when Etzebeth is on the field.
I mean, quite frankly, we could have given it to him 2 or 3 times in a row now, but
what I just said. I just said that, and you repeated it.
Didn't say exactly that verbatim, so no, you didn't say that. All right, so the consensus pick is Jack Morgan of Wales and Ospreys. Congratulations, sir. You are the Autumn Nations Series Player of the Match for the URC. Next up, the Premiership version. The nominees are A.J. McGinty of Team USA and Bristol. Good match for Team USA in their win over Tonga. Sam Underhill, Bath. Just a solid, hard match going against those back row players of the Springboks. That is not an easy day at the office. Marcus Smith of the Harlequins. Another great match for him, trying to will England over the line, just coming up short. And Tommy Freeman of the Saints, as Mike added. Mike, why'd you add Tommy Freeman?
Well, again, I thought he was decent on the high ball, on the chase. He did get his tackles and dealt with his work defensively. Then he had to adjust and move to the outside centre as well. I just think he had a solid game in what was a brutal test match.
All right, and our winner is Sam Underhill of Bath. Unsung effort against the South Africans, but a solid performance. All right, fellas.
Unsung effort. You just gave him an award.
That's why we gave him the award, because he had an unsung effort. It's a catch-22. All right, let's take a break. We'll have George and Steve come in, and we'll bring you guys back after this.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
And we're back, and we're welcoming in Mr. George Hook and Mr. Stephen Lewis. Gentlemen, welcome back. George, first off with you, I see you have the sniffles. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling as if I have the sniffles, but I think it goes with the territory in a wet and windy and cold Ireland. Not to be recommended.
Stephen, how are you?
Thanks for asking. Also fine. Also a touch of the sniffles.
All right. Steve, World Rugby, elections. Enlighten us.
Yeah. So every 4 years, World Rugby has something similar to a papal conclave where they elect who's running the game for the next 4 years. Key position here is the chairman. So basically who was replacing Bill Beaumont. And really what it came down to was a triumph of the Blazers. Blazer in this scenario not being something smart. Okay. So what happened was The establishment candidate, Dr. Brett Robinson of Australia, triumphed narrowly over the insurgent Abdel Benazi, who was a fierce Moroccan-born French back row forward. 27-25, very tight. But what does it mean? To me, it was a retrograde step for the game. We're going backwards. The whole concept of moving the game forward, growing the game, has gone again for another 4 years. The key thing to remember here, if we take a step back, is the current antiquated voting structure. Okay, and this is what happens: the rich get rich and the poor get poorer. 11 countries have 3 votes. 6 countries have 1 vote. Okay, and 93 countries do not have a vote. It is fundamentally undemocratic. And as I always describe World Rugby, it's FIFA with better manners. So what we've done is you had a candidate, Benazi, who vowed to rearrange the voting structure, introduce a bit more democracy, get funds to where they're needed. But no, we've got the tier 1 nations doing their thing, the establishment doing its thing, and it's not good for rugby. Final point. What they have elected, they elected a chairman and they elect a council, and there's about another 6 members there. Pichot lost. Pinheiro lost. You have a completely Anglophone council for the next 4 years. All English speaking. All from New Zealand, Australia, Canada, UK, Australia. No one from South America. 1 English speaking guy from Africa. This isn't the way to go.
What can change it, guys? How now we got to wait another 4 years before we can exact change, right?
Well, at that level, I mean, you're right. I mean, the problem is there are some fantastic passages of play, and there's some really good, intense test matches. Just think how much better it could be if the top brass took themselves out of it. If this ridiculous overuse of TMOs wasn't there. I mean, we're on the cusp of a really good product, and we're just getting in our own way.
George, you've been around the block and know a lot of these people that have been running the game forever. What is there an answer for the next generation to overcome this?
Well, I've just written an article for a newspaper, a Christmas edition of my favorite newspaper, the Cork Examiner, but on the fact that Ireland are celebrating their 150th anniversary. And my closing paragraph says, I do not think they will be celebrating their 200th anniversary. If the game is going the way Steve has elucidated politically, then everything else follows. Like, remember, once upon a time we were okay with it. There were only 8 countries running World Rugby, and each of them had a vote. The 5 over here and the 3 down there. And we were perfectly happy that Fiji and Argentina and all these upstarts didn't have a vote. But it's a different time. The game is completely different. Wales are out of the top 10. The way England are going, they'll be out of it. So you're looking, Italy, Georgia, if we want a world game, we have to help the rest of the world, not keep them down. I'm so bloody angry.
So just to elaborate further, Spain, who are going to be qualified for both men's and women's World Cup 15s and be on the World 7 Series, have no vote. Okay?
It's insane.
If you are sitting in Dublin or Edinburgh or Auckland or Brisbane or wherever, this all makes sense because you're guarding, circling your wagons, you're guarding your own financial investment and your own financial welfare. If you're sitting in Jamaica or Nigeria, as I occasionally sit, they're doing nothing for you. They're doing nothing for us. So it's where you sit. And right now we have 11 countries with disproportionate control over the game.
We could talk for hours on this topic, but we don't have that luxury. We are on a time schedule, and I wanted to get to something else before we let you go. This clickbait thing about the breakaway league, Steve, George, either one of you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, it's not clickbait, but it's not concrete, nor is it advanced. There are definite approaches have been made, mostly to South African players and South African agents, which I am aware of. So that is a reality. The plans, I'm not sure how developed they are, and the nature of the American investors, no one can seem to get their hands around. There's a deal on the table right now where the Eckersley Group out of Seattle are investing in South African rugby, right? And that's out in the open. And that's there, you can look up. I'm not sure whether there's a bit of crossed wires about that because they're American investors, South African rugby, or what's going on with it. But so there is, usually when there is smoke, there is some fire, but how big a fire, don't know.
George, do you have 2 cents on this?
Well, I mean, it's just, I think the media kind of gets a hold of this, and then they think that what we are having is the equivalent of LIV golf, where like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and what have you just buy rugby. Even with the 11 countries who were looking after themselves, they're not going to buy into this. I don't think rugby's for sale. I have to believe that rugby isn't for sale. If, for argument's sake, somebody leaves Ireland, like Crowley gets a big check, and then somebody in England gets a big check and they leave, I don't think it's the end of the world. If they want the money, take the money and go. Off you go, lads.
All right, now, fellas, before I let you go, it's our George versus Steve segment in which you each pick one of these matches, and it's the international autumn tests that we're looking at. George, who do you like?
I love Australia. I have a love affair with Australia since I first saw the Australian schoolboys with the Ella brothers in the early 80s. They played the game of rugby the way I thought it should be played. And they showed me how you got to fly half close to the advantage line. So I just want to see Australia do well, but it pains me that Joe Schmidt is getting the credit.
Stephen.
The Australian Renaissance will come to a shuddering halt at an icy Murrayfield after the Lone Piper has his say.
Oh, it's just perfect when the planets aligned and you two actually pick the same game out of all these games. Thank you, gentlemen. You've been wonderful. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back with the gang after this.
From New York City comes America's longest running and most popular rugby show. The biggest names in Major League Rugby, MLR highlights, and big match previews. Rugby Wrap-Up presents MLR Weekly, made in New York City. Hey, U.S. fans, you can tune into every match live on Flow Rugby. How do we know that? Because we're on there all the time. And we're back. And guys, it's time to make some picks. And we have the autumn international spreads in front of us. Let's start with France. Minus 10.5 versus Argentina. Will there be a letdown? Mike, who do you like?
I think Argentina are battle ready, but I fancy France. I think they'll get better and better. So I think France will win and they'll cover that.
John.
I think it's a massive letdown spot for France. So I think Argentina, who is a legit top 5 or 6 team in the world right now, I think Argentina covers. I don't think they win. I think there's a chance they do something crazy, but I think Argentina covers.
Gift.
This is the third time they're playing in 3 months. I think Argentina is going to be able to cover. They know this team pretty well. I'm expect them to get the win, but I think this is more of a cover. And like John spoke on, this is that moment where you have the letdown game and then people use the excuse, it's a friendly, as a way to get out of it.
I think France covers that, especially if DuPont's back in the starting lineup. Wales versus South Africa in Wales, 20.5 points. South Africa are the favorites. Mike.
Yeah, I mean, South Africa winning that and more than covering it. I think Wales are just down low on confidence and they're young. And I think South Africa get on top. And I think they just are brutal and they'll see him through. I can see a bomb squad maneuver coming on this game as well.
John.
The only chance Wales has is if South Africa misses the bus. These boys ain't gonna get whooped. And I mean whooped. I'm with Mike on this one. They're gonna score as many points as they want to.
Gift.
With Rugby on Blue Sky said it perfectly. Maybe they just need to go ahead and replace Georgia players and put them in red and call them Wales, and there might be a better chance to be able to keep this game close than it would be as it is right now because, yeah, South Africa's about to have
So what you're saying is take the whole Georgia team and just move them to Wales.
Just move them over to Wales. Since they won't let them be in part of Six Nations or anything, you may as well just go ahead and switch the teams out.
I love it. I think that's a hell of an idea.
I'm going to buck the trend here. I think Wales is going to play a very tough match, and I think South Africa is going to rest some guys. I think they cover that 20.5. Italy versus New Zealand in Italy, 26.5 points. The Kiwis are the favorites. Mike.
Yeah, and they'll win and cover it. I would say New Zealand, definitely.
I thought Italy was better than what they were. They have not showed it in these autumn internationals. They have not looked good, and Australia does. I know they're coming off a war with France, but I think New Zealand boat races these guys.
Gift.
Italy is about to get just ran over physically and mentally by New Zealand.
It's a lot of points. It's a lot of points after that emotional match. I'm taking Italy with the 26.5, baby. I got Wales and Italy. I'm an idiot. Scotland at Murrayfield, 2.5 points versus Australia. The Scots are the favorites, Mike.
I think the Scots physically can match Australia with the way that they play around the tackle area, and they can stop the Australian runners. And I think we need Finn to have a cracking day, but I think Scotland will win this. How
great is it to see Australia back in preeminence in World Rugby? I mean, it's amazing the turnaround they've had in the last couple of years. They're a top 6-8 team. I mean, they're playing really well. I think Scotland, though, is on the emergence as well, and they started from a much higher position. I agree. Finn Russell shows up and plays. I think it's going to be the game of the week. Give me Scotland to win.
Scotland is going to be more ready for this Australia team than I think the last two, that Wales and definitely England were. I think everybody underestimated them and expected that trashy Australia team. I look for Scotland to not only cover, but to win. But this is going to be probably the best game.
It's a battle of two exceptional coaches, Gregor Townsend and Joe Schmidt.
Not according to George.
I disagree. We're allowed to disagree. I think Scotland holds the fort there.
You don't disagree when George is on the show.
England.
George can tell you the earth is flat. You're going, yeah, you're right. I always thought it was flat.
England minus 34.5 at Twickenham versus Japan, Mike.
I think Eddie could be the reason why they actually do put 34 on Japan. I think this is deeper than the game for a lot of these players. I think it's a good call here. It's an interesting spread, but I'm going to go with England to cover it.
You've been wrong.
Yeah, I know.
John?
I'm with Mike here. If this were anybody but an Eddie Jones coach team, this is a huge letdown spot for them. They were at a war last week. A huge game at Twickenham. Those guys are going to be beat up and sore. I know they're pros, but still, they're going to be beat up and sore a week later. But it's Eddie Jones. I think they want to boat race Eddie Jones. I think they're going to try to put up as many as they can. So I'm going to go with England.
Gift.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a clear sweep on this one. Everybody's saying, it's an Eddie Jones factor. It's the factor Japan is not the same talented team that we saw from 2019 Rugby World Cup. It's the fact that England has just been getting beat up after beat up after beat up for weeks. Eventually, somebody's got to get the gas, and unfortunately, I think Japan is going to be one that's smoked out on this one.
I am taking those points. It's too many points. England's going to rest some players that are too banged up. I'm taking Japan. Finally, Ireland versus Fiji. Ireland given 19.5 points, Mike.
Yeah, decent spread again. I think it depends what team Ireland pick and the Fijian 10 months, isn't it? Whether or not he has another great game. But I'm going Ireland to win by 20, 24 points.
John.
Yeah, thank goodness it's not a championship match, or Ireland would. God, Alan would just like.
That's a new one.
Look at me, I'm Ireland. I'm Ireland.
Gift.
I think Fiji is going to actually keep this covered. I don't know if they're going to win, but I think they're going to keep it covered. And this is a Fiji team that somehow has managed to surpass the cold a little bit and show out.
The top 14 is in action. And the Fijian players that are in the top 14 will likely be with the top 14 teams. I'm going to take Ireland, and we have to take a quick break, and we'll come back with our top 14 pick of the week, one each from all of us, and then our picks of the week.
You need your cleats? You need them tomorrow? If you order today by 3 p.m. New York time or noon LA time, they can have them to you tomorrow. Young, old, male, female, if you're playing on turf, if you're playing on grass, if you're playing in the rain, you're playing in the heat, they've got you covered. RugbyNow.com. Go there now.
And we're back, and it's time to pick top 14 picks. Let's start with you, Mike. Who do you like in the top 14?
Well, I'm going to stick with my theme. I'm going to pick me away winner, and I'm going to go for Bordeaux, and I think they will more than cover the 2.5.
Gutsy Mike Friday. John.
So my buddy Louis Gove, who used to own Bordeaux Bagels, was the one that professionalized Hong Kong rugby. I went over to see Louis Gove one time, and that's where I got to watch the legendary Mike Friday and Perry Baker, Danny Barrett, all the boys play a hell of a series there at the Hong Kong Sevens. Was a blast. So I'm going with the Bordeaux Bagels because Louis Gove used to own them, and he loves 2 cents rugby.
Okay. All right. Gift.
Hey, look, going with the home team, the one that has points in its favor. The other team doesn't have anybody. So Castres over La Rochelle. Castres continues to cover and get the win.
Okay. I'm going to go with Racing and Faz, Owen Farrell, on the road against Stade Francais. Teams are missing some players, but not a lot. I think this is a rivalry. I like Racing. Picks of the week, Johnny. Who do you like?
I'm going with over in Scotland and Australia. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I wish I could be there. It's going to be so much fun to watch. I can't wait to watch it. I think a ton of points were scored, which, by the way, the over last week in the England game, it hit. So it goes to your point of, we all had a bad week. No, we freaking didn't.
All right. When I say we had a bad week, it means I don't want to say that you had a good week. Okay? Can we just agree on that? John had a good week, everybody. And if you didn't know it, he'll tell you all day about it.
Yeah, 2 cents rugby. I had a great week. Call me while I'm hot.
His mic is now muted once again. Mike, who's your pick of the week?
I just feel that South Africa have got too much in the locker for this young Welsh squad. So I think South Africa going to score over 8 tries. The big toe's agreeing with me. I can see that. That's definitely a toe of affirmation for my over 8 tries. South Africa will score.
He really appreciates you, Mike. That's sign language from Layfield. Gift, who's your pick of the week?
My pick of the week is that top 14, we will get 5 out of 7 home wins for the top 14. That is not record-breaking, but surprising nonetheless. Rare enough. 2 of those teams will actually get a loss. That's a shock. Home teams get losses in top 14 prior to the playoffs.
It's not rare this season so far, Gift. They've been averaging 5 wins against 2 losses for the most part, and there have been some.
Yeah, but it could be 5 against 2 cents rugby.
Oh, you know what? My pick is going to be.
Bam! Call us.
My pick is the over in Japan versus England. I think the English are going to score about 8 tries, like Mike said, and they're going to beat Eddie Jones badly. Oh, and unfortunately, fellas, we're out of time once again, so I want to thank you, John Bradshaw Layfield, the WWE Hall of Famer, King Gift Egbelu, the inventor of words, world-renowned coach Mike Friday, Steve Elevate Rugby Lewis, and Irish rugby legend George Hook. And thank you for tuning in. Please check out our other shows. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Sign up for our weekly newsletter. Tell your friends about us. And please join our American Red Cross blood donor team.
Call us 2 cents rugby.